here at a finalist retailer roundtable discussion with some of our esteemed REA finalists. We're here at Dallas Market Center, so Candle Warmers and Mud Pie sponsored this conversation so we can all get together and network, and Dallas Market Center provided a lunch, and we've just had a great time getting to know each other a little bit better and chat. So we're going to have just kind of share some ideas and ask you guys some questions because, you know, once you become a retail finalist, you're kind of a role model in the community, you know, and people want to hear your clever ideas and how you got to the top. So we'll just have a fun discussion together.
Perfect.
I'm Lenise Willis, Editor-in-Chief of Gifts and Decorative Accessories.
I'm Adeline Elliott. I'm an associate editor of Gifts and Decorative Accessories.
Awesome. We have Maggie Owens. We can just kind of share.
Oh, okay, great. My name is Maggie Owens, and I'm with Presley Page.
I'm Beth Rich. I'm with Mix It Up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
I'm Casey Bankson with Cheekwood in Nashville, Tennessee.
I'm Candace Matzler with Bart Gifts in Lubbock, Texas.
I'm Beth Forsey from Sammy's Soap in St. Louis, Missouri.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining and letting us pick your brains. So I'm going to start with a general question just to get the ball rolling, but I know it's something that all retailers are interested in, and it's how do you attract new customers to your store? Does anybody have any successful tactics or clever tools that they want to share? How do you draw new people in?
I'll start.
I was like,
So I have a gift store and a home store, and one of the things that we did, I'm in a resort town, and so you have all these people walking up and down the street, and we just took the image from a full page ad that we do in a local magazine, and we turned it into a banner. The ones you pull up and kind of hook at the top. And quite honestly, it has the gift store and the home store on it. It lists all of our awards, our retail excellence, everything at the bottom. Has a QR code. So if you're outside and you can't come in, you at least have the QR code's this big when you walk past it. It's colorful. It wasn't that expensive. And I live in a town where you can't use sandwich boards. Because of ADAs, they've just kind of outlawed the sandwich board thing because it makes the sidewalk too tight. So it just tucks up right next to the building, and we use it as one more way of trying to catch people's eyes because there's so much going on, and that's one of the things we do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I'm going to ask you about visual
Oh,
merchandising.
gosh. Okay.
I think that attracts people for sure.
yeah, I think for us, so I am like super into art, and I've always loved like big art, and we are in a town that has like incredible retailers, and while there are incredible retailers, I want them to come to shop at my store too. And I think that we have really like made a little niche for ourselves of using art to like draw people into the store. So we are frequently changing our displays. So we change our displays about 6 to 8 times a year, and some people might be like, what do you mean? I'm not talking about the products on the shelves. Displays does change every other week. We reset the floor, but we like hand make. So if you think about Anthropologie, it's like one of my favorite brands. So we really tried to like based off seasonality. Like we did a huge butterfly installation last year. We handmade fringe chandeliers. So we really put like a very artisan touch on the things that we do, and we see that it not only like drives people to our store, but it helps a lot with our online social engagement because people like want to come to the store because they want to see it and they want to take a picture and they want to tag us and show their friends. Also pick up cute things, but then we've been able to monetize it by helping other store owners, either in our local stores or out of state. They've purchased those displays from us, so like it helps our display live on in a totally different market after we're done with it. And then we've also like been able to monetize it through like selling tutorials on how to build or make the things that we did.
Nice. Okay.
So it's been a really fun way for us to have like some initial like immediate impact and then sell through those things. So we have about a 97% sell through rate on every single fixture or like display that we've used. And like our butterfly one went and was sold to be used for Paramore on tour. So I think it's how do you get creative and like see things from other retailers, but then like make it your own.
Yeah.
And really like take your whole store and make it an experience. I know Birch, they're not here tonight, but they won an award last night, Birch Home. And she was talking about that too, is like people now like have so many options on where they can shop. So why are they choosing to shop in your brick and mortar? And like what kind of experience can you offer them that differentiates it from everything else? And I, like, as a consumer, before I even owned Presley Page, like, always remember going to Anthropologie. And there's not one in my small town, but I always loved it because the artist in me,
Yeah.
like, loved to see those displays. So, especially, like, retailers in small towns, like, how do you use your own creativity to, like, drive people into your store and give them something to inspire them?
I love it. I love it. And you really hit on two extra key points that we always talk about a lot is social media and store events, because both of those
Oh,
are
yeah.
really great, interactive, engaging tools that you can use. So is there any other way that people use either social media channels or store events to sort of draw in either new or existing customers or engage with them?
Well, I was going to build on how do you attract new, and
Yeah.
we're in a very walkable neighborhood. It's outside of St. Louis. It's a suburb, but it's right across from the train station. There's a farmer's market. So people come for the day, or they drive up from an hour away and spend the day and have lunch and shop, or, young people are bringing their little kids and going to the farmer's market. And so we always have our door propped open if we can. And everyone, most people love the smell. Some people are like, oh my gosh, it's too much. But our soap,
Yeah.
which we make in the back, it's all natural, no artificial anything. And then our social mission is to employ adults with intellectual disabilities. So when you talk about experiential, they can go to the factory and see how the soap is made, do a tour, if you will. And then the little kids, we have a cutting table. They can, cut a little free sample and take that home. And also, my business partner is, an ex-Macy stylist. So you talk about redoing the store. It's like we're always moving stuff around. And placement is so important. Like if you get something new, if she orders something new and she's like, all right, my stuff's going here in the front. I'm like, now wait a minute, I want my stuff to be in the front, that I buy, because it's just so important. If it's in the back room, a lot of people never even get to the back room. But yeah, we have a great location. Anyway.
Well, I'm jealous of all y'all's locations because we're in a destination standalone shopping center, so we don't get much walk traffic. So most of ours are events where we've advertised to our customers who regularly come, or we'll ask them to bring a friend. Maybe they get a gift if they bring a friend, something like that. Or we'll partner with like our local Visit Lubbock groups for them to advertise that we're doing something special, and that helps get some new people in the door. But a lot of times it just seems that they have to see us enough times to be like, I've followed you for forever, I've just never been in, for them to finally come for us.
The I've driven by.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going a little bit off script here, but I'm also interested in how do you tell your brand story? Because Beth, when you were talking about, I know you have such a strong story behind your store, behind making your soap, because you are supplying, jobs and aid for people with disabilities. So how do you work that in? How do your customers know about that? How in what ways do you tell your brand story? And
We have an elevator speech that we give to our retail staff, or if I'm down there, I give it. And my first thing is, have you been in before? Because if they have, I don't want to beat them up with telling it over and over. If they've been in, I know that they know what we're about. But yeah, we just that we.
So it's more of greeting the customer and making sure it's word of mouth and.
Yeah, I mean, we do social media, but we've tried before hiring good-sized ad agencies that are gonna, generate all these sales, and they don't. So I'm to the point now where maybe we need to hire a 14-year-old, who just is always on there. And one of the things is to allow somebody to run with it and make mistakes. Yeah. So that's I'm ready to do that. My business partner, not so much, but I'm ready to just hand it over to someone young, knowing they're going to make mistakes. They wouldn't do it the same as me, but that's okay. So there's that when you have a business partner. You've got to agree on things. And anyway.
I think to answer your question more about how do we reiterate our brand story and our values and what's differentiating us in the marketplace, we found a lot of like small ways to incorporate what we're about to tell that story. And I always tell my staff, like, at the end of the day, like, everybody deserves to like give a great gift. And so we're there to make sure that you can give a great gift. And if you're like looking for education, like, I really love the brand story program. It's a gentleman out of Nashville, and I like had every single person on my team go through that. So they've had some like formal education, I would say, in there. But we found ways, like, right now we have custom bags, which are beautiful, and they say like, don't wait to celebrate on like the bags. But we used to have like a little 4x6 that would just printed online and like would stick it in every purchase that had like a little bit about like who we are, ways to shop with us. Because I like would notice when I would go to like Ulta or Old Navy, they would have like huge things on their side of the window that are like store pickup or order online. And I thought, like, okay, there's something that I'm missing if like all these major retailers are really honing in on like local pickup, and they're so aware that that is the way our customer is going to want to shop with us online. So like we get them in store and we can convert way better on our sales when they're in our brick and mortar store. But like, how do I find ways to like remind them that like we're a really great gifting solution for them, not just when they have time to come into our brick and mortar store. So we really try to find ways to like drop a 4x6 card into their purchase or their bag at purchase. And then we also have like automated emails that go out to them to like help reiterate our brand story. So like if you've shopped with us for the first time, like if you do a text message, you can like sign up for texting and it will automatically send you a little, hi, I'm Maggie. I started Presley Page in January 2020, or like has like my photo, introduces the team. So we really try to like, I think, put a face behind what we're doing, and our team is like super active on social to make sure that like we're constantly like showing photos of the store, which like keeps people aware of like what new product that we have, and then they're telling what we're doing and showing the behind the scenes that gets them like more engaged. And I know girls on our team they'll always be like, oh my gosh, somebody stopped me today at the baseball game and was like, you're that girl from Presley Page. And so I think it's just fun because it helps our team to have like a greater sense of pride in like what they're doing. And we always tell them like, when you work here, like you represent Presley Page. So whatever you're doing in your personal life, like it needs to be like in good faith and like represent like who we are as a company, because we're in a small town and what you do like matters. And so I think that's been really fun for us to like get people that are so in love with like what we're doing in the store and like be ambassadors for like the brand. And I think that's the best thing about your employees is like they're your biggest brand ambassadors. So how do you like re-engage them and make them like feel like they're part of that value that you want to create?
Lenise, I think one of the things that we did is, because we have two stores, we always say that it cannot and will never be a competition, but they compete with each other. Because we use one point of sale system, and when you go to the bottom of the screen on Shopify, it tells you what each store is doing in sales. And so they're always competing with each other. So now we've made this effort to put our faces on the front of our socials. We just, everything you read says it just needs to be so authentic and so human. And so now we're in a little like mini unintentional competition, because I've started doing reels, and one is the gift store girls and the other is the home store. And so then they look at the analytics to say this many thousand people watch this reel and this many watch this reel. And so now we're trying to, it's actually helped them to kind of loosen up and be a little bit more fun on camera. And to your point, Beth, I tried hiring somebody a year ago when I opened my home store to do our social media and some branding. We needed new logos and all that stuff. And about 6 months in, I was saying, okay, this is what you need to photograph. This is a story you need to tell. This is when it needs to get posted. And finally it was like, oh my God, like I might as well do that myself. And the reality of it is, for my brand, I know the story so well that I needed to take enough other things off of my responsibilities so that I could tell the story, because I always say I know everything. I know everything's coming. I bought everything. I know when it's coming. I know how long we're going to have it. I know how many we're getting. And so if anybody's going to tell that story, I'm looking forward to the day when it doesn't have to be me. But right now, But for instance, I posted from being here this morning. My customers want to know that I'm here and I'm looking for stuff for them that they're going to see later on this year. And so they so connect with me as the brand. And then to your point, Maggie, the same thing, my associates will, somebody in the grocery stores, oh, like you're the Mix It Up, like, don't you work at that Mix It Up store? And it's like like little, like 10 Mile Famous or something.
Well, I guess we've got to put our old faces on there then.
We do.
Instead of our logo.
I do everybody else's face. What is it? Like,
Yeah. Well, no, the face that's a good, yeah, we can do retail staff if they allow it, but yeah.
yeah.
I love that you mentioned the delegation part, because I think that's something we hear a lot from other retailers, is it is so hard to delegate stuff sometimes because you're such the center of your brand and your story, and you're like the epicenter of everything that's going on. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So I'm going to swap these two questions. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Just let's talk about staff, because I think obviously I know like we've had some issues with staff shortages too, and that might play a role in what we're talking about. But how are you attracting staff, and how are you training your staff so that you can delegate things to them?
Well, you want to start?
I can start.
Yeah.
We, of course, since COVID, we've had this, I've got nobody, and now I've got 10 people. It's just kind of up and down. I have the best luck when I find like one or two girls that are really good, and then I'm like, who do you know that you think could work here? Like a recommendation from one of my girls is where I get usually the best girls. Okay. So that's just for getting staff right off the bat. But for me, training, we have a rule book. It's called Things We Have an Understanding About. And it's basically what I give them before their trial day. That's like, this is what I'm going to expect. If you don't agree with this, then you can walk away. If you do, great, because you know what you're signing up for. They have to sign it at the end. And as far as training goes, I'll just show them a couple of things at a time, because it's a whole lot. We do a lot of different things, from invitations to personalized gifts to, obviously merchandising and entering items and all that kind of stuff, like everyone does. But I just try to start with small sections and see what I can figure out that they're actually good at. And then I'll just give them a project, let them do it, and then I will come back and correct it. So I'll go, you work on this display, and then I'll come back through and I'll say, this looks great, this needs to move here, this is why. Like if someone's reaching in, they can't get to that, just kind of like walk through the process for like how they could do it better next time.
Yeah.
And that seems to help, because, they're not going to be great right off the bat. But
Right.
the
Yeah.
more you can kind of
They
like
give a little bit
teach
of
and
grace,
go,
yeah.
and it's a pain because, it takes time out of my day to do it. But if you train them right the first time, they can do so much more later. It's easier down the road.
Yeah, taking the time up front. Yeah.
I've really stepped away from training my new staff, which is a good thing, because I'm very I will shoot so much information at you in 10 minutes that they get overwhelmed. And so in the last year, I've stepped away because I do have two strong assistants who are perfectly capable of training. And I instead have my new employees shadow, because we work a lot of just one-on-one retail. It's not a lot of working together. So I want them to meet the staff, so I have them kind of shadow all my employees so that they get everyone's different takes on top sellers and everyone's different connections to certain brands, and they really get to know their teammates. And then I kind of come in weeks later or even a month later and just kind of touch base with them and make sure, they did hit the spots that I wanted them to hit. But I feel like that makes people more comfortable. They're not having a superior looking down on them, not looking down on them, but looking over them, I guess, and watching their every move. They're instead I'm learning from a peer, and I'm getting to know my coworkers, and my team has been with me, since I've been there, and we don't have a lot of turnover. And I feel like it's because, well, one, we try to be as flexible and as possible, just so we don't lose them to another person who pays more money. But we try to be flexible. We try to really take into account any personal things going on, requests off, things like that. But we also really focus on a team environment despite working alone. We really want them to like each other and learn from each other and have different perspectives instead of just working, one-on-one with the manager in the background.
The peer option is a good option too. Sometimes I'll take one of my girls and say, will you have them, why don't you show them how to do this? Because they do sometimes not feel as much stress coming from me. But if it's something really important, I want to make sure that that they know everything.
Yeah,
that they
and
need
they
to
probably
know.
feel more comfortable asking questions too.
Yeah.
If it's like a peer. Yeah.
Right. And I'll say, you can ask me the same question 5 times. The 6th time I might get annoyed, but you can ask me the same question 5 times. I'm good with it. Just ask if you don't know.
I'm so fortunate because I actually have, with 2 stores, I have a store manager who manages both stores, and she is the yin to my yang, because I am the hey, let's, I got the idea, and I'm halfway down the road. She's like, whoa, 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 processes, we have them written down, and so she does all the training for me, and I'm in both stores almost every single day. So my associates see me and they have a chance to interact with me, and I'm the storyteller, and so as a general rule, what I'll try to do is I'll try to grab an associate, and we always say we don't sell anything at Mix It Up. We just tell stories all day long, and we connect you with a story of the brand. We connect you to the story of the artist, or that's what we're doing, is we're telling you the story. And so for us, it's learning the different stories so that they can tell. And quite honestly, I think one of the best ways to train is for me to be in the store and for an associate to hear me tell the story, because I know all the stories, because that's why I buy all the stuff. And so when they're standing in the background listening to me tell the story, then they can hear my enthusiasm. They can get all the tiny little details, And then, quite honestly, we partner with a lot of our vendors, and they have been to our store. So our associate, like, we sell more gurgle pots than if you told me 6 years ago how many gurgle pots I would sell. A gurgle pot is a functional water pitcher that was designed to gurgle when you pour out of it. And so we tell the story about how Matt was in Paris at dinner, where nobody spoke the same language, and the waiter kept coming out with this pitcher that made this sound. And so he went back to Seattle, created it. Well, Matt comes to our store, so all my associates know Matt. And so he comes every other year, and we host an event. And so having that tie into the story, so we do that as often as we can with different manufacturers and different vendors.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you skipped right on ahead, so
Sorry.
I love it. It's totally fine. But that was one thing we're interested too, is, specifically when you're training your staff. Obviously, you made a great point. I love how you said you don't sell anything, you just tell a lot of stories. And in the gift industry, we have so many stories behind every single product. So how are any of you sort of helping your staff to relay those stories of anything that you sell in your store?
We do what you're talking about. I like the term stories, though, but to back up, we are lucky in that we haven't had to advertise for help in 10 years. People want to work for us, and it's nice that we get them through word of mouth. So we've been really lucky there, and we've passed off recently. We have a retail store manager who, I think somebody here said, more peer-to-peer, training it's easier for them to get the training from Yoshi, who's 27, than me. They don't want to talk to me because they're 22 or 24 or whatever. So that works out well for us. Yeah, we've been lucky. We have always people coming wanting to work for us through our doors, and we pay competitively, especially with our mission team. And I wish we could create more jobs for our mission team. The only way to do that would be to scale us up, But anyway, I forget, what were you segueing into, though? I know.
She forgets.
Telling the stories
Yes.
behind products.
So,
And then
yeah.
how can vendors, help you to do that?
And
as
we
well?
try to do that with our sales meetings, and I'm kind of like the same with you, because I'm bouncing so many balls. I'm just like, Yoshi, add this to the list for the next sales meeting to talk about this product and why. And if I'm downstairs and happen to walk through and talking to a customer, that helps the younger sales clerk learn about it and then make it her own or his own. But it's hard to, when you're a small business, you can't just have sales training all the time. It's got to be on the fly at a certain point, because everyone's bouncing so many different balls. But
We kind of set goals, so we'll highlight, it's internal, obviously not, but we'll be okay, this week, or these Monday through Thursday, this is our product highlight, and these days it's this. So it's every customer that comes to the door, our employee has to tell them about the certain product. And so we're constantly changing it, so that I think it helps our team members become more aware of the products that are on the floor. And then it also, like helps engage that customer. We'd be like, oh, you're looking for a baby gift. I know you didn't say you wanted a candle, but like I have got to tell you about these candles because they're so beautiful and they smell so good. And like then we just kind of like go into whatever it is. But we try to change it up frequently so that every customer is like getting the same thing. Or we always say like if there's 3 customers, you don't want to tell every person about the same thing while they're standing there. So we're like, okay, these are your 3 products of the week, and these are the 3 stories about those products. So like, pick one of those 3, and you have to tell every single person about it. And if you can tell all 3 of them, like bingo. Like I don't know what you get, but you would.
We do that for the first week, and then we would stop.
Yeah, we like. I came from a environment where I had a more corporate role before I owned Presley Page. So we do a lot of things in advance. So like I send my schedule out like a month in advance. So like the schedule for July was sent out 2 weeks ago. And so that I felt like our girls, we have a larger team, but it's like they want to plan fun things with their friends, and I don't want to have to worry about you calling into work. So I send the schedule out a month in advance, and on that schedule, I already list what the product highlights are going to be. So it's just like there. And to piggyback off of the other question about training, we have Gmail, and Gmail has like a free thing where you can set up a Google site, and it's internal. And so we have what we call the intranet, and it's like the Presley Page Bible. And it could be anything from like how to ring up a custom balloon to like what to do when a customer wants a receipt emailed to them after they leave. And so it's like an internal Google. Mm-hmm. And so it has at this point now probably like 400 standard operating procedures. So anytime like there's a question, we have Slack as our internal communication, but anytime there's a question or it feels like a misunderstanding on our team, we write a standard operating procedure about it, and then it just goes and lives in this Googleable world for Presley Page employees. And so that's been really helpful for us, from both like standardizing our visual merchandising to making sure like every order is packed a certain way, because I'm very like type A particular, obviously, if you can't tell. And like I want to make sure like every package that goes out to that door, like they need to have pink tissue paper. It needs to be like three things. It needs to be this way. And so I know like I can be kind of intimidating or like too much in a training moment. So I kind of let them teach them and then like hand over those resources to them so that they can go back and find those at any time.
We'll just have one last question for our old digital, before we say goodbye to our digital audience. How, you brought up a great point. How do you all stay organized? Because I know so many retailers are wearing like 20 different hats, and you've got to manage and organize your visual merchandising, you know, your display ideas and your orders and what's coming in, and then staff training. Like, does anybody just have some hot tips for how you stay organized, or any tools that you use to stay organized or to manage any part of the business?
Well, we use Asana, which is a workflow app. Kind of, so it's similar to Slack, but a little bit different. And we started with it because when I bought the store from somebody who was technology was not her friend. She had lots of retail experience, and we had a black 3-ring binder with tabs on the side. And if somebody came in, if Miss Susie Smith came in and wanted a red gurgle pot and we didn't have it, you did a customer request, so you just opened the tab to that page and you wrote that down. Well, at 11 o'clock at night, when I'm ordering gurgle pots at the top of my bed with my Jack Russell Terrier, I'm like, I don't know that Susie Smith needs a red gurgle pot. Mm-hmm. So we were looking for a way to put all that information in something. And so we ended up using Asana. And so it tracks all of our freight. So every time I get an email that says freight's coming from Mud Pie, I simply just forward it into a file folder called freight tracking. My receiving girls in the morning, they come in and they can just see exactly when is everything. Is a big shipment coming on Thursday? Is it coming on Friday? I mean, it's so great to know that information. We use it for all of our purchase orders. All of our purchase orders are digital. They go in there. You know, somebody can come in and say, oh, well, does Beth have red gurgle pots on the next order? And all you do is you type in gurgle pot, and the next purchase order comes up for every single associate who lives in the store, or who works in the, lives in the store, works in the store, lives in the store.
They pretty much live there.
So I just worked with Crystal Media. We just launched through, I have to think about where it is, but we did an Asana for Retail course because I spent so much money creating it,
Yeah.
and fine tuning it. And I know that when you go to a platform like Slack or to Asana, it's just like a big chasm, and you're like, well, where do I start? And so the
Yeah.
concept was, okay, here's how we take this really robust tool and use it for retail. And so it
For
just
sure.
kind of fine tunes it down to what you can use, because
Yeah.
they're robust, but they are super helpful.
On that same note, we Shopify as our point of sale in our e-com, and so I think what you're probably doing there, we do it all in Shopify. So I felt like our team has access to a lot of tools and is very technology friendly, but really trying to like utilize the tools that we have. And Shopify is a great platform for us because we can put those POs in there. We can put the tracking info, and like we link a lot to our shop phone. So like the shop app through Shopify, it's kind of confusing, but like it sends them those notifications to be like, okay, it looks like you're going to get a pallet from Uline today and like a pallet from Two's company. I don't know, just random because you mentioned that one earlier. But so it's good because it like helps them see too what's on order. And I felt like we used to use Asana a ton, and we used a lot of tools, and it fragmented our internal communication. So we've really tried to simplify it. So opening, closing checklists, daily checklists from Google, and like those go out to everybody on our team, and it sends reminders at the end of the day, like don't forget to submit the closing checklist. Yeah, I think that leaning on technology to help support and automate has been really helpful for us for a lot of our organization, and
it's not
everything
very-
else
it's
is a
not
hope
very
and a prayer. Yeah.
You know, it takes some time to get it set up initially, but it's the expense of, the monthly expense
Yeah.
for, Slack or Asana is
Yeah.
not a lot.
Slack's free.
Sounds interesting. We're on Shopify as well. We don't use any workflow apps. It's interesting. I just don't want one more thing to have to manage.
I get it.
Like what I do is if, we have two buyers, myself and my business partner. If I see that something's shipping, I forward it to my retail manager, like heads up, here's the tracking. And she'll know then when it's coming in. But maybe we only have like 12 employees, so you
So
guys,
we,
sounds
like-
like you guys have more employees,
14.
really?
7.
Yeah.
But the Shopify, you can actually like enter your PO. I don't know if that's what you're doing, what your workflow is right now, but you can enter your purchase order, and then your on-site team can receive it. So like our retail store, nobody there is like entering the products from scratch. Like everything happens at our office level, and then they are just like receiving the inventory, so they can like accept or reject it in Shopify. So it happens a little like outside of the store.
We do it in Shopify too, but mine kind of do both. They'll enter the items and then also make the POs. Like if there's downtime, like, oh, I have these things coming, why don't you enter them? And then they can receive them when they come. So,
Do you use Shopify?
I don't. I have Lightspeed, which gives you a website free, and it all integrates, and so it's a very similar process because I looked at Shopify when I was choosing Lightspeed. But yeah, my workflow could be easier because you can enter POs early, but because we order so far in advance, half the time the purchase orders change significantly by the time it arrives. So we do I prep everything and price everything on paper. I'm very old school in that. And then my assistants have like a file folder where things just move down, like as when I order it, and then I'll price it, and then it's checked in, it's in Lightspeed, it's done, and it just kind of moves down. And that's just because that's the way we prefer it. We use technology a lot for all the things that you said, but as far as I'm a visual person, I like to look at my paper orders and
I
check
get it.
things
I am
off.
too. I like
things-
printed things. I get it.
Yeah, I print things off. I always ask the vendors for printed copies, and they're like, "Oh my God, still wants printed copies," but it really
Just by
helps me
paper.
figure it out. Yeah, for most, if it's a reorder, I won't do it, but if it's new product, so we have a similar system. And again, we kind of have this file system where things move down in the process, and then the same thing on technology. We use OneNote and SharePoint and stuff.
Okay.
So on OneNote, we have checklists where things kind of move down through their process and then it's finished. But that way we have kind of a history report of like who checked it in, who put it into Lightspeed, who like in case there's any issues. So we're really trying to work on getting more staff members trained on the whole process because right now they're really just checking things in and then my
Yeah.
assistants are entering inventory and pricing things and stuff. But I'd love to get people more ownership in the business by allowing them a peek behind the scenes and
Yeah.
how we price things and how we name things and stuff like that.
Being able to pass off some of that pricing and stuff has been a huge thing taken off my plate. I was nervous at first because I'm like, oh, what if they mess it up? Well, if they mess it up, we'll just fix it. I mean, it's not a big, so we sold something for like $2 less than we should have. Okay, now fix the price on all the others. But it's nice to be able to go, okay, you entered it, let me double check it. Oh, change that one, you're good. And then it's just off your plate. It's so nice.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, I know we're coming up at the end of our time, so we're so appreciative for everyone here. We're so appreciative for Mud Pie and Candle Warmers and Dallas Market Center for sponsoring this roundtable discussion and getting us all together. And if you guys missed the Retailer Excellence Awards, shame on you. You can check out our website, retailerexcellenceawards.com or giftsanddeck.com for all that information and to learn more about all these ladies here. And we hope to see you next year. But thank you guys.